Since I was a kid,
Oh yeah,
I was big league dreaming.
I was big league
For
dreaming.
as long as I live,
Always.
I'm big league dreaming.
I never got to bat in the major leagues. I'd have liked to have that chance, just once. To stare down a big league pitcher. Make him think you know something he doesn't. Chance to squint at a sky so blue that it hurts your eyes just to look at. To feel the tingle in your arm as you connect with the ball. To run the bases, stretch a double into a triple, and flop face first. Wrap your arms around the bag. That's my wish, Rick and Silla.
Welcome back to the podcast. John Gonzalez here. I am the dad. And if you've been following the podcast, I think you already know the format by now. I'm the dad, 3 sons, Zach, Ty, and Zane. Zach is based in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ty is based in actually Grand Rapids, Kentwood, not too far from where I'm living, in Comstock Park. And then Zane, the youngest son, is in South Bend, Indiana. He's a coach there at Indiana University at South Bend. Go Titans. Their fall season is about to start. And we just wrapped up, folks, a series of 6 podcasts on the Little League World Series. Talk about fulfilling your dreams and taking it to the next level, watching these 11 and 12-year-old boys battling it out on the big stage of ESPN, ABC. We've had some great conversations with the coaches, Rick Thorning and Guido Eulen. Both those coaches have been great to share their stories and how they got to the Little League World Series. And the big parade was Thursday night in Taylor, Michigan. So congratulations again to the Little League champions from Taylor North Little League in Taylor, Michigan. So it's been kind of fun from a Michigan perspective to be rooting for these guys on such a big stage. Now, the boys I just mentioned, they're not with me today. They're all doing their own thing. I'm going to see Zach tomorrow in Charlotte. And then when I get back, I'll hang out with Ty, who does all of our productions for the podcast, and then I'll be meeting up with Zane in South Bend to see how fall baseball is going. So we've got a lot of podcasts coming up, as I said earlier. We'll make sure to get those here on the different formats or where platforms you listen to the format or listen to the podcast. We appreciate you tuning in every single time we post a new podcast. Today, folks, I'm at, I hope I get this pronunciation right, I'm at Floor Field. Dan, I got that. Dan's just saying yes. I am at the home of the Greenville Drive. I have never been to Greenville, South Carolina. I mistakenly called it North Carolina last week. I'll tell you more about that later. But we are in Greenville, South Carolina, home of the Drive, a high A affiliate for the Boston Red Sox. First time here, loving it already. I see a replica of Fenway Park here, the Green Monsters here. Dan Scott joining us. You're the play-by-play guy here for the Greenville Drive, as well as director of broadcasting at Furman University. Thank you so much for letting us come out to your beautiful ballpark.
Oh, thank you for inviting me onto the podcast. Looking forward to spending some time with you here.
Thank you so much. But first of all, let's soak in this view. It's a beautiful, picturesque day here in South Carolina. It's about 78 degrees, maybe 76, 77, somewhere in there. But it's just been a gorgeous day.
It really has. And, you know, we had the remnants of Hurricane Ida come through here earlier this week. And we thought that it was going to wreak havoc with the schedule, but it hasn't. It has gotten through here, and it's beautiful. And as you mentioned, I mean, man, what a beautiful place to come to work every day. There are a lot of days that some things go wrong and you're not maybe in the best frame of mind, but when you walk through these gates and come up to our booth, which is directly behind home plate, and you see this view, which is a replica of Fenway Park, as you mentioned, usually that dark cloud dissipates and it turns out to be a pretty good day. There's an old saying, John, I know you've heard this, that a bad day at the ballpark is better than a good day at the office.
Amen to that. Yeah, I've heard that saying many times. In fact, I would sneak away when I was working downtown Grand Rapids. I would sneak away and head to our ballpark there in Comstock Park and just sit in the stadium and watch batting practice and soak it all in, because it is magical. And you know what? There's been some great things happening with your season this year. You're coming back to play baseball after last year's craziness. You know, and more fans are coming into the ballpark. I know you had a no-hitter the other day, so there's a lot going on with this team. But let's talk a little bit about, since this podcast is about big league dreaming. Mm-hmm. So you must run into, in your career, you've been doing broadcasting for what, 25, 30 years? How long have you been in this business?
Really, since I was 18 years old. I started at my hometown radio station in Williamson, West Virginia, spinning the adult contemporary hits on a 1,000-watt AM radio station. And when I say spinning the hits, I mean actually playing records, vinyl records. You and I are old enough to remember those. And funny, they're making a comeback now. But yeah, I've been doing this one form or another for, I guess it's 36 years now.
Yeah. I know we're about the same age, and I can't wait to talk to you about your love for baseball and when it started as a kid, because I think we have similar stories on that front. But you have seen a lot of young players coming through, whether at the collegiate level or here at the professional level. You've seen people with dreams. Is there a quality? Is there something that makes some succeed and others just not quite get there? Other than God-given talent.
Well, and that's kind of exactly what I was going to say, because when you get to this level, this is high A baseball in the Red Sox organization, and we see 11 different organizations in the league that we're in, or whether it is Division I college baseball, which I've done for 17 years as well. Did it at Clemson. I had a chance to broadcast in 2 different College World Series out in Omaha. There's not a great deal of talent separation between the elite athletes that make it this far. I think the biggest thing that separates the ones that make it and the ones that don't is their ability to mentally handle the grind. And Bob Kipper is the pitching coach here, and he was a major leaguer for 8 years, and he is just an incredible tool for these young men as they come through the Red Sox organization. And we had a conversation. It was probably the second month of the season, and I was kind of giving him a hard time. He was coming off the field from throwing batting practice. It was about 90 degrees, and I said, when are you going to get tired of this? And he looked out and he said, what? I said, this, doing what you're doing now. And he said, not, I love it. And then he said something very profound. He pointed to a couple of players in the dugout, and he said, and that's what they're trying to figure out too. He said, everybody that comes up here likes baseball. They're trying to figure out if they love baseball. Because if you don't love the game, then putting up with the grind of a minor league season and those other things, that's one of the separators. And usually, if you don't love it, you're not going to make the next step or the ultimate step to the big leagues. So I think that's the big thing. It's just the mental focus, the ability to adapt to the grind, the willingness to adapt to the grind, and put the work in every day and still find that love and that joy at the game.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm glad you mentioned that, because what I've noticed from coaching, because I've coached baseball for 30 years as well, is that it's the players that can adjust to failure, right? And I know that it's a cliche, right? that if you fail how many times, whatever, and you're still going to be a Hall of Famer if you hit over 300 or whatever it is. But I'll tell you what, for a young player that's 18, 19, 20 years old, playing every day for the first time, because high school baseball is nothing like college baseball. College baseball is nothing like the minor leagues, and the minor leagues nothing like the major leagues. So they're always adjusting to what's next. But the ones that can adjust and kind of let the small stuff go and realize it's a process are the ones that seem to make it to the next level.
And it's one of the constant themes that we've had. We do a pregame interview with Drive manager Iggy Suarez before every game, and one of the constant themes that has been people don't see the amount of work that goes in. I mean, we're sitting here, it's 5 minutes till 4 as we're recording this on September the 3rd. The game starts at 7:05. Well, they're starting their normal round of batting practice. On a lot of days, they would have been out here at 3:15, 3:30, going through various drills, infield practice, situational practice. So sometimes they're working 3-4 hours before the game even starts. And all the fans see when the gates open at 6 o'clock is all of the pageantry and everything that leads up to the first pitch in the baseball game. They never get to see this. And this is where dreams are really made, because it's one thing to get here, but it's another thing to stay here. And the work that you have to put in order to stay at this level and continue to advance, a lot of people never see.
Well, that's what it takes. Big League Dreams is about putting in the work, and that's what we always say as a family, the Gonzaleses. We always say, like, half of our battle was just the work because it was fun, right? Like what the players are doing right now in the batting practice, you could probably hear earlier, whoever was batting was hitting the green monster here. So they're having fun. They're doing it, but it's part of their daily routine. And this has to be just as much fun as hitting that walk-off home run in the 9th inning.
Well, at least for those of us who aren't doing it, would love to be down there in that cage right now, taking those swings, and in our mind having that walk-off home run. But in order to have those moments, you have to have these moments. And it's like that, as you well know, whether you're talking about being a baseball player or you're talking about being a broadcaster or you're a bank executive or whatever it is. In order to get that exhilarating high, you have to go through a grind and go through a lot of lows to get there.
Adjustments through those low periods,
Yes.
no question about it. We saw it with Spencer Torkelson, the Tiger, one of the Tigers' top pick, really, the number one pick overall last year. We saw with him, he struggled through single A and in West Michigan until he really caught fire there, got promoted to double A, caught fire there, now is in triple A. So even in one season, he had to battle adversity. So let me tell you real quick, or ask you real quick, are there some players on this team? I know there was a recent call-up with Nick York that got called up here to high A in Greenville from low A Salem, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. And he seems to be adjusting well.
Yeah, he's the number 4 prospect in the Red Sox organization. Last night was the 7th game that he has played. I'm sorry, the 8th game he's played with the Drive. He has had hits in 6 of them, multiple hits in 5 of those games. So he's not had any trouble making the adjustment to low A and up to high A. And you're talking about a guy who missed, I think, played 6 games in his high school senior season because of COVID last year. I mean, he's 19 years old, but he's kind of got that it factor. But you only can go so far on that. And you watch the work that he puts in. It's one of the reasons he's advancing the way he is.
Yeah, I've been following him a little bit, knowing that I was coming here, and I'm like, oh, who is this kid, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, I like those stories where he had to battle adversity just to get to this point, right? And I think he even struggled a little bit at low A earlier this season.
Well, it didn't last long. I can promise you that, because by the time he got here, he was hitting well over 300 double-digit home runs. And the thing that impressed me, he had struck out 47 times, but he had walked 41. And I can promise you, I've been doing the minor league game since 2018. I've been doing Division I college baseball since 2005. To see somebody with that many walks and that few strikeouts, it's becoming a rarity. Strikeouts are up, as you know, in every level. And to see somebody with that kind of an eye was really impressive.
Cool. Are there any other players that are getting some attention from Red Sox fans? Because I would imagine the Red Sox fans are pretty intense. We know that. They love their Red Sox. Are there any other players on this year's Drive roster that are also top prospects?
Well, the one guy who, and I'm assuming it's safe for me to talk about this because the announcement should be made today, and so that should give us plenty of time, but Jay Groom, who is one of the top pitching prospects in the organization, has already been promoted to Double-A Portland. He's actually been with them for almost a week, but the activation wasn't going to be announced until his date of pitch, which I believe is today. And he's a guy who in the previous 3 years had only pitched 60 innings because of Tommy John surgery and because of COVID. And so this was a year that he was really playing catch-up. And he struggled at the beginning of the season, but in about the last month and a half, really turned the corner, a lot more consistent, and you're beginning to see why he was a number 1 pick for this team.
Oh, well, that's big news. This just in.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to check out what's happening with the Red Sox and the minors, do that, folks. Hey, Dan, I got to ask you here because I did reach out to the boys to ask them some questions that they had for you. Mm-hmm. And my son Zach was great because they're all great. I love them all. But Zach knows that I'm a huge Cincinnati Reds fan, and I told him that you're a big Marty Brennaman fan, and that you grew up cheering on the Reds. In 1975, I believe, as your story goes, and I was a huge Reds fan. Johnny Bench is still my all-time favorite player, and my son Zach, his all-time favorite player is Ken Griffey Jr. For obvious reasons. He's a Mariner. Here's the funny thing. You'll love this. Zach is a Mariners fan. My middle son Ty is a Mets fan because of Mike Piazza, and my youngest son Zane, who's the coach, is a Red Sox fan because of Big Papi. So that's kind of how our family breaks down. I'm a Tigers fan all the way through, but Zach wants to know, what was it like watching the Big Red Machine? 6 division titles, 4 NL pennants, 2 World Series titles. Will we ever see something like that again, dominance of the 70s?
Well, for me, it was incredible because that 1975 team, that's the year that I fell in love with baseball. I was 8 years old. The downside to it, if there was a downside, is you get spoiled. very quickly. And then by the time we got to the early 80s and I was in high school and they lost 100 games in 1982, I think it was, and you think, hey, what's going on here? But yeah, that was just an incredible team to grow up with.
Yeah.
And you know, I can still name the starting lineup. I can still name the batting order. I could probably name most of the bullpen and the bench guys. It was, in a lot of ways, the last of what I would consider maybe the golden era of Major League Baseball. Will we ever see that kind of dominance again? In one sense, yeah, because of payroll disparities. You know, the big market clubs are always going to be able to do things. I have some hope that baseball is going to see the light and kind of turn that around a little bit when you see how the Tampa Bay Rays continue to do what they're doing. And these next negotiations that are coming up, when the collective bargaining agreement that expires at the end of this year, I think we're going to go through some pains there. But back to the original question, it was just such a phenomenal time to grow up, and then to have that voice coming out of my radio, Marty Brenneman, who he was there for 46 years. I listened to him for 45 years.
A legend.
I'm
A true legend.
I'm blessed to call him a friend now. It was just, as far as I'm concerned, you couldn't ask for anything better this side of Vin Scully.
Well, I know that you have talked a lot about Marty and how he was able to just take you to that ballpark, and I'm sure when you as a broadcaster are doing that, you're like, okay, I need to kind of like paint the picture and let people see what's happening here. For me, Ernie Harwell did that for me in Detroit with the Tigers. So to me, it's Ernie Harwell tells the story like no one else could. I would hear Marty every once in a while because what station was he on? What was broadcasting? Was it
WLW in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
38 states, the big one gets to at night.
See, we had WJR in Detroit, and that's, of course, the great voice of the Great Lakes. So, you know, you had those big power stations, and delivering these bigger than the game, really. I mean, they became part of the fabric of the game. Without the ball players and the announcers and the sports writers, I mean, baseball just doesn't have the same appeal. I don't think it goes to the national level that it is today. Of course, it's battling some other things, and that's a whole other issue. But I'll tell you what, this is my first trip, folks. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Big League Dreaming, the podcast. We're talking to Dan Scott. He is a play-by-play radio guy here for the Greenville Drive, the High A affiliate of the Boston Red Sox, and he's also the director of broadcasting at Furman University. By the way, drove by that campus. It's a beautiful campus. We'll ask him a broadcasting question in a second, but my son Zach also wants to know about Clemson a little bit. He's a huge Clemson fan. His wife and his whole family. He married a girl from down here. Okay. That's why we're down here. So we kind of are getting this whole Southern culture of sports, right? Collegiate sports. He wants to know, obviously, he says football is the obvious answer here, but what are the unique things have made Clemson a destination school for the South?
Well, obviously you start with football, and what Dabo Swinney has done with that program since he took over midway back in 2008. And, you know, nobody really saw that coming except probably Dabo himself. But, you know, having spent a good deal of time there, I covered the school as a writer and a broadcaster from 99 until 2011 when I took over at Furman as the #1 broadcaster. I'm always partial to the baseball program there and what Jack Leggett did in the time that I was there. I broadcast 2 College World Series. I covered 2 others earlier as a sports writer in teams that he took out to Omaha. And matter of fact, we were at the last College World Series played at Old Rosenblatt Stadium. Seeing how baseball has elevated really across the country at the collegiate level. But it was, when I got there, it was like that at Clemson already. I think that made it a destination. Basketball for a long time was kind of an afterthought at Clemson because of football, but I think that's changing a little bit now. But football is always going to be the driving force behind that school, and when you've won 2 national championships since 2016, you know that's sometimes you have to pick the low-hanging fruit, John, and that's that to me that's the biggest draw for people around the country is Clemson football.
This question comes from my son Ty. Like I said, he's the middle one. He's actually at the He's actually at Wrigley Field today watching the Cubs play. So he'll, I think they have an afternoon game, so we'll be getting some of his tweets on the BLD podcast. BLD if you're on Twitter, is the podcast Twitter platform and card there. So anyway, he wants to know about broadcasting, since he loves broadcasting and production end of things, and also as a rapper himself. He wants to know, when it comes to broadcasting, do you think is someone naturally gifted or born with it, or can someone develop the skills over time to become a good broadcaster?
I think there are examples of both. People tell me that I was born with it. When I was in the sixth grade, if I could find my sixth grade elementary school yearbook in my parents' attic somewhere back in West Virginia, there's a picture of me. You're old enough to remember Sha Na Na and Bowser, doing that pose. I was voted the loudest in my class. So I kind of knew early on what my strength was, and I always had an inclination for radio and love it. But I know other people who had no natural lean to it, but decided it was something that they wanted to try, and it takes a lot of hard work. And I talk to young broadcasters all the time, or people who want to get into broadcasting all the time. And the one thing that I tell them, in one sense, they have an advantage that I didn't have because of things like this podcast. You can kind of start your own thing. But the thing that I tell them is that you've got to get on the air somewhere. Even if you're in college and you're going to the college radio station and you're playing classical music and talking between records, you have to get accustomed to talking into a microphone, listening back to hear how you sound, and developing a style. But it goes back to what we were talking about before. It's something that you have to work at. You can have a gift, but if you don't invest in that gift, then it's never going to manifest itself.
No, again, so true. I mean, I think that LeBron James is LeBron James, but he's investing in his gift, right? Every day he's out there working. We talked about it earlier. These players are out here working hard and trying to get better. And I think anything you do in life, you have to work hard to get better. Well, Dan, I really appreciate your time today. I know that Zane, I haven't heard back from Zane because he's in back to school mode, right? You know this, right? And he's got these players showing up on campus, and there's COVID testing going on, and they had to jump through hoops to get through last year to play their season at the NAIA school there. So he's in the middle of just getting the field ready, getting the players ready. Everyone's getting back to school, so I know he's pretty busy. But I know he would ask, since being the Red Sox fan here, how do the Red Sox look throughout their minor league system? And we talked a little bit about this team here at the Greenville Drive. I know you had a combined no-hitter with 4 pitchers the other day, right?
Last night, yeah. As a matter of fact, September 2nd, since we're recording this on the 3rd. Yeah, we had a combined no-hitter, and the starter had just been called up from Low A Salem. It was his first start in the Drive uniform, and he pitched the first 5 innings, and then 3 other pitchers finish it off. I can tell you what I've seen, and what I've seen from this year's team. There have been 5 or 6 guys that have already been promoted to AA Portland who are just lighting it up, and a couple of guys from the 2018 season when we first started in 2019 that were here that are at Portland, or even I think there are 1 or 2 maybe at Worcester in AAA, who are doing very, very well as well. How that translates moving further up the ladder, we'll wait and see. But they seem to have done a very good job of drafting, and what tells me that these players are good is they've gone from here up to the next level, and they continue to perform at a high level, and I think that's a good sign.
It is a good sign, and when the Red Sox do well, I think everyone's doing well, because there's so many fans out there. They're just so loyal. I love going into your gift shop today and seeing all the Red Sox memorabilia. Now, I was thinking about this earlier because I used to follow the minor leagues. I still follow the minor leagues, but when I was in college, I think I knew every single minor league team out there. The Drive in Greenville here, your history with baseball goes a long way. In fact, I spent a great afternoon with my wife, Pam, traveling to the Shoeless Joe Museum, which was fabulous. With the textile history here in the community and all the different clubs that play down here in the textile leagues, baseball has such a rich history here in Greenville. But the Drive, before the Drive, what was the name of the team?
The Atlanta Braves AA team was here for a long time, the Greenville Braves, and they played at a stadium out away from here on just off of I-85. And it was 2003, I think, that they left for Mississippi. And there was a controversy here about the Braves wanting a new stadium and where it was going to be and who was going to pay for it and all of those things that happen in cities. So the Braves ended up going to Mississippi. The Greenville Drive was formed. They began construction on this facility. The Drive played its very first season in 2004 out at that old facility while this one was being constructed. The first year of play here downtown in this ballpark was in 2005.
It feels like it's a brand new ballpark.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just they've taken great care of it.
Well, they keep adding to it every year, new fan experiences. You saw all the construction going on outside. Next on the table here is going to be a blowout and an expansion of the clubhouse area and some other things. There'll be some retail opportunities. They've done such a great job with this and investing in this community and making this a destination point during the summer.
Oh, it really is. I love the feel. It kind of reminds me when I'm in Lansing of the ballpark there with the Lansing Lugnuts. You can see the brick, the buildings out on the outfield, left field wall over the Green Monster. What does this seat? Around 7,000?
The actual number of seats is somewhat over 5,000, but with standing room only, you can get 72, 73 in here. In fact, I think the largest crowd on record was opening day 2019 when Dustin Pedroia was here on a rehab assignment and was in the opening day lineup, and I want to say it was like 70, 74 plus. And that was really pushing it from a fire marshal standard, but they got away with it. But yeah, so when Clemson and South Carolina play baseball here, they've had a couple of crowds over 7,000. So you can get that in here with standing room only, with the double deck seating on the Green Monster, the hillside area, the pavilion on top of the New York Life building up there. There are a lot of different places to take in the action here.
Yeah, it's a beautiful ballpark, folks. If you get a chance to get to Greenville, South Carolina, come check out Fluor Field at the West End, home of the Greenville Drive. Thank you so much, Dan, for being a guest today. Real quick, can you tell me the coaching staff of the Greenville Drive? Because I'm sure you mentioned the head coach a few minutes ago.
Yeah, the manager is Iggy Suarez. It's his third year on the field with the Drive. If you count COVID, his fourth year here with the Drive. Bob Kipper, who is a former major leaguer, is the pitching coach. And this, I think, is his third tour of duty here. He lives in Greenville with his wife now. They love it here. And he's been just such a phenomenal asset for the Red Sox working with young pitchers. Nate Spears is the hitting coach. And John Shelby III, who is the son of a former big leaguer, John Shelby, is the first base coach and works with the outfield and base running.
Great crew. Sounds like a great crew. I mean, all these minor league teams have former players, or I would go. I never failed to go to a minor league game, look at the roster, and look at the coaches. Like, oh, he plays. Oh, I used to watch him on TV, right? So it's always fun to do that. All right, I'm gonna quiz you. Give me that starting lineup for the Reds.
Leading off at third base was Pete Rose, batting second in right field, Ken Griffey. Joe Morgan hit third at second base. The cleanup hitter was the catcher, Johnny Bench. Tony Perez hit fifth at first. George Foster batted sixth in left field. The seven hitter was Dave Concepcion at shortstop. Cesar Geronimo in center field batted eighth, and if Don Gullett was pitching, he would have been batting ninth.
Wow, that's impressive, my friend. Good job. I could do that for the '84 World Series for the Tigers. Nice job. All right, thanks for joining us on the show. We appreciate it. Good luck to you. Tell people where to get your information, because I know you have a podcast, you have a show as well, and if they want to listen to Drive Games, how can they listen to you?
If you want to listen to the Drive Games, and counting tonight, we only have 3 left. We don't do the road games, and so we're in their final home series of the season. But GreenvilleDrive.com is the website. MILB TV, it's a subscription video, but there's a free audio link there, and we kind of cater to that, so try to tell the story to the people who listen for free. My personal stuff, I have a podcast cleverly titled The Dan Scott Show Podcast, which is available everywhere. And I just started, I actually have my own TuneIn radio station now, on TuneIn Radio, the app and the website, called The Dan Scott Show channel. And what I do with that is, I've done a radio talk show in one form or another in this area since 2001. So I've got 20 years of archived material with interviews of a lot of famous people, especially a lot of baseball people. And I also use it as a way to share my testimony and what God has done in my life. And that's new. There are some placeholder things in there right now. I'm working to get that to sounding more like an actual radio station. But there's probably 8-9 hours worth of stuff that's rotating there right now. So that's the Dan Scott Show channel on TuneIn Radio. And the podcast is the Dan Scott Show podcast. And we'll actually be kicking off new weekly episodes of that this coming week, Labor Day week.
Well, I can't wait to look forward to listening more. I can't wait to tune in to TuneIn Radio, the Dan Scott Show. Thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've enjoyed it.
All right, folks. That is it for me. Just gonna watch batting practice a little bit more. I know that Dan's got to prep for his interview with the coach here. Make sure to tune into their show on MILBTV.com. All right, take care, everyone. Let's see. Let me go to Ty. Hey, Ty, if you're back from the game at Wrigley, tell people where to get more information about the show.
Hey, it's Ty from Big League Dreaming Podcast. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at BLDpod. That is at BLDPOD. And we're also on TikTok now as well, so give us a follow at Big League Dreaming. We'd love to connect with you.